Committee to order, please. Thank you very much. A warm welcome to those attending and our viewers watching live on the Council YouTube channel Hillingdon, London. My name is Councillor Higgins and I'm the chairman of this committee. Details of business to be considered today are shown on the agenda, copies of which are accessible online and under the live broadcast. And if you click it, you'll also see any addendums that there are attached. For those present in the room intending to speak, please note you are filmed and any statement you make will be recorded and made public. A reminder to anyone speaking today that your voice will only be audible online if your mic is switched on. Mobile devices, if you have them on, please can you turn the sounds off or just turn them off, it's up to you. We, as a committee, we are in the sense of going paperless, so we have all computers, and I can assure you no one is playing games on them. So we go next to the attendees. My Vice Chairman, Councillor Alan Bennett, welcome. Councillor Darren Davis, welcome as your substitute. I obviously have to repeat that in a minute. Councillor Shira Walana, welcome. Councillor Elizabeth Gaelic, welcome. Councillor Sansapori, welcome. Councillor Singh, welcome. My officers tonight are Ros Johnson, Head of Development Management and Building Control, to my right. Kate Crosby, further right. Area Planning Service Manager. Owen Concannon, Planning Team Leader. Chris Brady, Planning Team Leader. Michael Bringshaw, Deputy Team Leader. Alan Corcoran, I think I got it right. There you go, I've been practicing. And then the one that will always is Christos Kulisov Atho, Senior Planning, Dr. Tilly, Natalie Flakov, my legal advice, and Ryan Adele here, Democratic Services, to make sure that I do everything correctly. Have I done it so far correctly? Right. Okay, that's good. Okay, so we'll go straight to the agenda. Apologies for absence, please.
Yes, we have apologies from Councillor Camdale and from Councillor Burrows, and we have Councillor Walana and Councillor Davis substitute.
Thank you very much, you two, for doing such a notice. Declarations of interest in the matters coming before the meeting. There is none, to my knowledge. Oh, okay, sorry.
Thank you, Chair. So, agenda item 6, I will step out for the discussion and vote as I have a non-pecuniary interest. I live on the development on a neighbouring road.
Okay. So that will go to, I have some more news about that in a minute. Can we agree the minutes of the last meeting, please? Is that great? Thank you. Matters that are notified advance or urgent. There is a request for item 6 to be deferred, which I will come to the members that are only available to vote, which is myself, Councillor Sansapori and Councillor Singh. We'll discuss that before we start that item, but that isn't an item that's coming before us, whether we will decide to defer it or deal with it tonight. Okay, also the last thing on here is that I confirm that all business is marked part 1 and considered in public. There's nothing in part 2. So we'll go to, I think I've covered everything, correct? Yes. Okay. So what we'll do is, because it's only just us three. Now, I'm going to let Chris give us a deliberation about what, because obviously we asked them to do a few things, see what they've done, and then we'll make the decision whether we defer it or we vote for it. Is that okay, guys? Yes. Brilliant. Chris, over to you. Do you want me to go through the presentation? Well, we know what it is, so because we've seen it so many times, but you can go through your quick version.
I'll try. Thank you, Chair. So item 6 just relates to the development of Dyson Drive. I'll quickly flick through the slides. As the Chairman stated, this application is before committee members tonight because it was deferred at the 12th of March Planning Committee. The item relates to the creation of 9 off-street parking spaces and the provision of 3 new trees. Here you'll see the site denoted within the red shading. This is the location plan with the site denoted within the red line. Existing location and site plans. Proposed location and site plans. Plan submitted with the previous planning application. This is a bird's eye view plan. You can see the spaces just set within the landscaping. It is proposed to remove some of that landscaping and construct 9 new parking spaces. Here are some images. You've got the existing parking spaces directly to the north. There are some examples of parking outside of those spaces just on the left there. Here is a closer image of those parking spaces. Again, this is from the top of the road, looking down. So, following the previous submission to committee and presentation, a site visit was undertaken. Members who attended the site that day will have seen some parking spaces in this similar fashion. So some were within the bays, there were other parking undertaken outside of those bays. During the committee presentation, officers raised numerous concerns, particularly regarding the significant policy departure that this proposal presents. The policy departure is around the excessive amount of parking that would be caused. So if we were assessing this against the most up-to-date policy, which is what we need to do because it's a new application, the existing 70 spaces to serve the 56 units would be considered excessive and wouldn't comply with policy. You then add the additional 9 in, and then you get a significant policy departure. Not only is there a policy departure that needs to be considered by members, but we also need to consider that the impact that may have across not only the rest of this development, but also any future development that were to come forward. In fact, what we could be dealing with is a significantly harmful precedent that could be set across future major development. During the committee presentation, those issues were conveyed. The lead petitioner stated the reasons for why the additional parking was required. Part of that related to the fact that they don't believe that there is access to enough parking on site, and that some residents require more than 1 parking space. Each of the properties should benefit from 1 parking space each. And then there was issues around parking being undertaken by people who don't live on Dyson Drive, parking their vehicles and either walking elsewhere into the town centre or just parking their vehicles there and moving off the site. What we had asked for the petitioner to do was to undertake some parking controls. We felt that in the absence of parking controls at the time, that would be useful to help mitigate the harm. And also undertake a transport assessment, which would be robust enough to be tested and address the issues which I raised with members around the policy departure. An extension of time was agreed until September. We're now in September, so the application has been brought back before members. An assessment's been undertaken of the submitted transport assessment. That outlines a very limited amount of detail. For example, the parking controls which are mentioned within the report are said to have been put in place in February. The application didn't come to planning committee until March, so I believe there's some misinformation within that report. What it does outline is that the parking controls that were implemented at the time were not successful. They were limited. I don't know, Ryan, whether you want to put that back on. And let's go back on. So they were limited to parking permits. So parking permit, it was implemented, and those parking permits would last 24 hours per day. The requirement for reporting of those would be down to residents, so residents would need to report issues relating to parking restriction contraventions. They would report that through a system, and then a ticket would be generated. Also, should persistent issues occur, there was the possibility of vehicle towing as well. Although the report outlines these measures, what it doesn't do is give any indication as to what impact and how much of an impact this parking issue is having. So there's no evidence in it of how many tickets were generated, how many reports were issued. So although it does set out a framework of what could be successful, it doesn't provide any indication as to how bad of a problem this actually is. It does state that there was an incident that took place on the 12th of March, in early August, and unfortunately that led to an obstruction of a emergency services vehicle. However, it's very limited detail within the report. It doesn't indicate what obstruction took place, what type of vehicle was trying to access a property within Dyson Drive or try and free flow through it. And it also doesn't illustrate where the vehicle and the obstruction took place. Those members that did attend the site visit will have noted that during the site visit, a refuse vehicle arrived. Vehicles were parked outside of the bays, which I believe would be in what's considered to be one of the positions which was not subject to the parking management scheme. And the dust vehicle, refuse vehicle, was able to approach and free flow through the road without any obstruction. And that was not just witnessed by officers but by members who attended the site visit as well. So there's two particular points there. One, the report that's been issued to officers for assessment is not robust. It's undetailed and very limited. It doesn't demonstrate that the parking measures that were put in place adequately to address the issue. And also there is no information in there to respond to the significant policy departure that was explained to members on that night. Therefore, the only decision only recommendation, which officers can reach is to retain the recommendation to refuse the application. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chris. Councillor Sensapori and Councillor Singh.
Thank you. The officer report is very clear. And what I've seen from the paperwork, it has been already deferred. So I think my strong opinion is we should go for the officer recommendation.
Yeah, we got to rein it back just a little bit, okay? What we can do is then we can say, right, we're going to look at it, because there is still petitioners here so they can talk about it, but you want us to deal with it tonight. Yeah? Councillor Singh?
Thank you, Chair. I read this all the information also. Thank you for the officers. They give more details. So I'm second for the officers.
Just to get on with it. Okay, right. So we decided we're going to deal with it tonight, which is okay. So first petitioner is it? It's applicant, is it? Yeah. The applicant, Richard Conroy. You here, mate? Do you want to come and take a seat? Obviously, you got your 5 minutes. Looking very slim, mate. Very slim indeed. Obviously the worry of all this. What? So you've been here before, so you know you're going to split it between the two of you, yeah? You're going to start, so you've got 5 minutes, so off you go. Whenever you start. Hang on. No, when you press the button, don't worry, waiting. Don't worry, we're not going to make you rush. Don't worry. When you're ready. You ready? Yeah. Right. All right. Thank you.
Good evening, members of the Planning Committee and fellow residents. My name is Stephen Hayward and I'm here tonight as one of the applicants for the proposed development of 9 new off-street parking spaces on Dyson Drive. It's important to understand that we're here to discuss this application before us as it is and not concerning ourselves with any future or other planning applications. Behind me are the other applicants, all of whom are significantly affected by the current lack of dedicated parking. As the 9 homeowners on Dyson Drive, many of us with young families, we consider safe and ready access to our cars a necessity. Following the last planning meeting and after the site visit by the members, we were asked by the planning department to implement a controlled parking scheme to see if it would improve the health and safety and antisocial behaviour problems we face. We duly implemented this scheme for a 6-month period, but it ultimately failed. A large white van parked illegally and partially obstructing the road was clamped. Before it could be removed, an emergency vehicle was unable to access the far end of Dyson Drive, delaying its response. On those grounds of emergency highway safety, the scheme was immediately suspended. We still believe a parking control scheme is integral to the solution, but due to the narrow nature of Dyson Drive, parking must be moved to off-street bays. This will allow for safer and clearer access for emergency vehicles, at which point the scheme can be reintroduced with far less curbside on-street parking. I would like to address some of the statements made by the Planning Department in their refusal document. Regarding point 0.1, the Planning Department has misunderstood our position. We believe parking controls are effective when balanced with health and safety concerns, which our application addresses directly. On point 0.12, 0.15, the claim that our proposal increasing parking spaces is incorrect. Our plan actually reduces the total number of on-street spaces, creating a safer environment. The 9 new bays, combined with a smaller curb area, will limit overall capacity, and residents will consider installing lockable posts to ensure the bays are for their use only. In relation to point 0.16, the site visit allowed planning officers and committee members to see a bin lorry entering and exiting Dyson Drive. Dyson Drive doesn't have a pavement. I trust you were able to witness the speed of the vehicle and its dangerously close proximity, approximately 1.4 metres, to our front doors and windows. A fully loaded 30-tonne bin lorry travelling at 25 to 30 miles an hour this close to our homes leaves no reaction time for the driver to stop if a child were to suddenly appear. This constant menace is not limited to bin lorries. We see fast-travelling vehicles like delivery vans and scooters multiple times a day. Our proposed off-street parking would move these large vehicles farther from our homes, creating a safer environment. Finally, I want to discuss the only remaining objection to our application, the code deviation from the London Plan. The London Plan applies in equal measure to both inner and outer London boroughs, and in our specific case it is leading to the opposite of what it sets out to achieve, a less safe and healthy residential environment for Londoners. This is a sentiment that was largely agreed upon by the councillors in our first committee meeting. Councillor Higgins, our chairman, even suggested creating the spaces in the very way you see tonight, and personally felt it would be an acceptable solution. He also commented on the differences between our outer London borough and inner London, noting our more family-based population and the way in which the London Plan acts as a blunt instrument. In closing, this committee and the planning department regularly approve applications that deviate from planning codes when overriding factors demonstrate that the benefits outweigh the policy deviation. In this case, the significant health and safety benefits and the reduction in antisocial behaviour far outweigh the single policy deviation, which is the only reason the planning department has recommended our application be refused. I urge you to reconsider these facts and approve our application.
Yeah, I think that set out actually the applicant's arguments quite strongly. I just want to reinforce that the committee members have the right to exercise their own planning judgment here tonight based on the specific individual circumstances of this case, which obviously allow them to overturn the planning officer's recommendation. In this particular case, we've actually provided, since the previous planning committee, a transport safety note prepared by Crescent Transport, which sets out the issues of highway safety and also the community cohesion concerns and antisocial behaviour, which are less of a planning concern, but nonetheless are an impact on local residents. So I just wanted to specify that every application should be judged on its own planning merits, and in this particular case, the merits are that there are circumstances to overturn the recommendation.
Yes. Thank you. Any questions? Yes, Councillor Sansbury.
Sorry, at the one time you saying you want to defer the application, and now you saying decide the application now. You want to defer it, or you want to take the decision today?
No, Councillor Sansbury, what's happened is that we had the choice to defer. They wanted us to defer it because they felt they wanted the councillor to speak. So what we did is we decided whether we were going to look at the application or defer it. So we decided to look at the application. So now we're looking at the application. They've come forward, they've said one thing. So, okay. Thank you, guys. You can take your seat. Thank you. Before I hand over to a few questions, firstly, when we were on site, the dust cart was not travelling at 35 miles an hour. It was only doing about 5 or something, 10 miles an hour going down there. Secondly, I did say what the petitioner said, because I do believe that we are different out here, and it is my right to, if I wish to, and the committee wishes to vote against officer's recommendation. So what we did is we tried to come up with a fair system that we felt that what officers needed was two items. We got the transport one, but I'm afraid you've let us down on the parking enforcement. on the site alone in other areas they have an actual proper professional team, I'm led to believe. Is that correct? Yeah, that do that job. And if you had come back with that, then we could have looked at something. We have to also understand that we are here to protect Hillingdon, but we also so we want to protect Hillingdon, but we also have to try and working within the remits. And I think because that second element hasn't happened, it's made, for me anyway, as a member, very difficult to vote for this. Okay? You want to come back on something? Have I made some mistake or something? No, fine.
Just a couple of things. One, it's probably an appropriate time to draw members' attention to the fact that there's an addendum on this item. That addendum contains a petition and objection to the proposal containing... Oh, you got it. Which contains 67 signatures in objection to the proposal. I just want to respond just to one of the points that was raised by the lead petitioner. I think one of the points which hasn't been advocated very clearly here is what is the actual purpose of this application? Is it the fact that residents within the road don't benefit from adequate levels of parking, in which case the scheme's been determined with a 1.25 parking spaces per unit, which is higher than what you would do if we were assessing the master plan application now for this road, yeah? Or is it the fact that people are from outside of this particular road are parking within those spaces and therefore those spaces aren't free? The lead petitioner raised a point regarding installing posts which would be lockable, but what I would say is how does that prevent people which you say are an issue and causing obstruction from parking in that position which you see on the screen to the left-hand side? If that is the main purpose of the application, is to stop people from outside of this road parking in that position, how does that resolve that issue? And in the officer's opinion, it doesn't. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I agree with what you're saying. Obviously, with a proper parking enforcement, then you would be able to eradicate that because they call it double yellows and everything else on it. So that's where we are with that. Right, now, Ryan, you're going to read out the objection. Mr. Priapti, are you here today? No. It's just a written, so it's just your lovely tones now to the committee.
So this is a petition received in support of the officer's recommendations. This statement is kindly presented to the committee by Democratic Services on behalf of the Hillingdon Alliance of Residents Associations. We support the clear, professional and now reinforced recommendation of the planning officers to refuse this application for 9 additional parking spaces at Dyson Drive. We recognise that the applicant and residents have raised a petition in support of the application. However, the role of this committee is to balance the wishes of individuals against the established planning policies that exist for the benefit of the entire borough. In this case, the officer's report demonstrates that the proposal is not a minor adjustment but a significant departure from key strategic policy. The officer's report is unambiguous. The core issue remains that approving an increase from 70 to 79 spaces, where the London plan allows a maximum of 46.5, would be a knowing and drastic breach of London-wide policy designed to manage transport effectively. Since the application was deferred in March, the applicant was given time to justify this policy departure. Their new transport safety note fails to do so. The new officer's report explicitly states that the applicant's note lacks the detail required to address the reason for refusal and provides no evidence to demonstrate that a significant parking issue exists. The committee's own site visit directly observed a refuse lorry navigating Dyson Drive without obstruction, undermining the applicant's argument. At this committee's meeting in March, we heard powerful arguments from the council's own experts as to why parking policy matters. The Transport Planning and Development Team Manager pointed out that managing parking is one of the most effective tools the Council has to tackle the issue of climate change, air quality and traffic congestion. The Head of Development Management confirmed that the current provision was not an oversight and that this proposal represents a stark departure from planning policy. The argument that this proposal merely formalises existing informal parking was also addressed by the officers. They questioned whether adding more unmanaged spaces would solve the problem or simply encourage further car use and worsen congestion. Approving this application would set a dangerous precedent of over-provision of parking spaces, not only for the rest of the St Andrews development, but for the whole of our borough. It would weaken the council's ability to enforce its own policies and promote sustainable transport in the future. We heard the council's planning team leader, head of development management, transport team manager and legal advisor all speak with one voice against this proposal. They are the professional guardians of the borough's planning integrity. After a deferral, a site visit and additional submissions, their professional conclusion is unchanged and has only been strengthened. We urge the councillors of this committee to support our officers to be consistent in their decision making and to uphold the planning policies that are in place to create a more sustainable and less congested Hillingdon for all residents. We urge that the application be refused.
Thank you. I'll refrain from making any comments about that. Anyway, we go on. So, we go to the vote now. So, do you want to speak about it? Councillor Singh, do you want to propose, or what do you want to do?
Thank you, Chair. I think everything clear. The officer they repeat second time. So, strongly propose the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Sansapuri, you second it?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Those show hands, those who agree with the officer's recommendation. That's it. Thank you. So that's refused. Thank you very much. Okay. Item 7, 35 Brookdean Drive. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Item 7, the description's up there. It's for the demolition of an existing two-storey dwelling and the erection of a replacement two-storey dwelling with solar panels, associated bin storage, parking, electric charging, air source heat pump and vehicular crossover. The application is brought forward to committee due to a petition received with main concerns related to the impact on the local character, neighbours' amenity, parking and highway safety, as well as landscaping concerns. Full list of objections are covered in section 6 of the committee report. Just as a matter of an update, there is an addendum to this report with 2 representations received post-publication. We also have a revised plan showing the bin storage repositioned, which is also reflected on revised conditions 2 and 8, and condition 16 is revised to update the most recent general permitted development order. I would also draw your attention to a typo on para 6.1 of the consultation section, where the most recent consultation period expired on the 21st of August rather than the 21st of March 2025. So the site location plan there, it's a T-junction on Brookdean Drive. The property comprises a 2-storey dwelling property. It's neither listed or within a conservation area. There are no significant constraints on the street apart from a TPO tree, which we have landscaping conditions associated with. If you can see here, the site is highlighted there on Google Street View. If you can see, directly behind the site is a development of 14 apartments known as Saxon Court Development. That received planning permission in 2007 and involved the demolition of number 36, or part involved the demolition of 36 Brookdean Drive. So here you have the existing plans. What I would point out is the existing conservatory is located, situated along the common boundary with number 34. This will be reflected in the existing elevations. So if you can see on the bottom plan, you see the existing dwelling of number 34 on the left, and a conservatory in between the property. On the top elevation, you see the front of the property, and I suppose to the right of that is its relationship with the bigger 14 development complex of Saxon Court. So these are the proposed elevations. During the course of the application, we have received amendments where we've reduced the height of the ridge so it's more in line with the existing arrangement. So the proposed front elevation, it's a unique site with two frontages. One is located adjacent to 34 Brookdean, and the other is located on the street scene facing Saxon Court. So the main entrance is on the Saxon Court elevation. And here is a proposed landscaping plan. And this is the existing dwelling as it stands. As you can see on the right-hand photo, the larger development on Saxon Court. And here is the proposed plans. You may be able to make out on the proposed plans the footprint of the existing footprint is dotted in blue, and you can see that the actual single-story element is set in slightly from that. It's approximately 0.9 or give or take in from the edge of the conservatory, so it gives a bit more space at the back. And this is the neighbouring property at number 34 Brookdean Drive, and here is the neighbour at Saxon's Court. Again, in the background of that photo is the actual application rear garden elevation, so you kind of get an idea of its positioning to that complex. Right, again, here is a street scene photo showing the actual existing dwelling. The boundary treatment will come out closer to the pedestrian footpath. This area is shown with the garden space to the front there. That is in the ownership of the applicant, and the landscaping scheme that we have secured includes hedging in front of that to ensure it appears sympathetic to the surroundings. Again, here's a couple of examples of dwellings that have been approved along the street, or extensions. The one on the left was approved in 2017. It was a demolition and replacement dwelling, and then again on the right hand side, number 15 Brookdean Drive, again it's a variance in the overall architectural composition along the street. In terms of assessments, this is covered in detail within section 7 of the committee report. The principle of the replacement dwelling is acceptable as it re-provides a family-sized dwelling house. The amendments received during the course of the application ensure that the dwelling responds positively to the corner plot. The dwelling maintains set-ins from the sides, ensuring sufficient openness is maintained, and the scale is acceptable in the context of the site. The finer detail on materials and landscaping has been secured via condition. In terms of neighbours' amenity, officers are satisfied the scheme is acceptable in this regard. The scheme has demonstrated that the two-storey element passes the 45-degree test set out in the BRE guidance, whilst the removal of the conservatory along the common boundary would improve the ground floor elements relationship with number 34. Conditions have also been attached that allow that the flank windows onto number 34 are obscure glazed, non-opening 1.8 metres above finished floor level. This would ensure the neighbours' privacy is maintained. No undue harm to the residents' amenity of properties opposite side of the road would occur. Our Highways Department have reviewed the application in terms of parking and vehicle safety, and are satisfied that this will be policy compliant and would not lead to any safety concerns. Conditions have been recommended on the visibility displays, construction management and reinstatement of the curb and footway. Overall, officers are satisfied that the scheme is policy compliant and acceptable to conditions set out in Appendix 1 of the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Owen. We have a petition from, I think it's Monica Launcher Sobic. Why would the agent? Does it matter? Is anybody here? Yeah. I don't know if you've been before, but you have 5 minutes, and then I will stop you, so forgive me, I'm not being rude, it's just that's the rules, okay? So whenever you're ready.
I refer you to image 1 on the slide. This shows existing 4-bed house and 2 on-site parking spaces. Image 2 shows the recent extensions at number 11 and... Go back to slide 1, please. So, image number 2 shows number 11 and 15 and large replacement at number 17. They all have on-site parking provision for multiple cars, like majority of other houses in Brookdene Drive. Concern is that the reduction to 1 parking space for 5-bed house is wholly inadequate. Image 3, you can see the main section of Brookdene Drive, which slopes sharply towards the T-junction. Cars often travel at speed before turning left or right. Red lines indicate current distance to the crossovers. Yellow rectangle indicates proposed parking and crossover. The concern is very close to the T-junction and on the narrowest part of the west section of Brookdene Drive. Single parking space also creates a bad precedence for any future developments. All houses in this section of Brookdene Drive have on-site provision for at least 2 cars. That's because it's impossible to park on a road as it's too narrow. Image number 4 shows yellow square showing current on-site parking for 2 cars. There is an opportunity to potentially reprovide this parking closer to the to the entrance to the house, closer to the yellow arrow. Next slide, please. Image number 1, please. The planning report refers to the proposed dwelling as visually unassuming and not overly dominant. We disagree. Number 35 is located at the highest point in this section of Brookdene Drive. The adjacent property at 34 is 1.2 meter lower, and the houses opposite, 19 and 20, are even lower. Image 1 shows proposed elevation at section looking in the west section of Brookdene Drive. In green is the current elevation. As you see, the proposed facade is 50% wider than existing, and it will have a detrimental impact on the neighboring properties. Image number 2 demonstrates the homogeneous form and scale of the existing buildings in this section of Brookdene Drive. Image number 3, the planning report refers to number 17 as similar in size to the proposed number 35. Number 17 is in fact very dominant and tall, but its impact on the houses opposite is mitigated by a large distance and no level difference. Now look at number 35. You see the distance to the houses opposite is significantly shorter. Next slide, please. See top images. They represent ground and first floor plan. In green is the current footprint of the building, is the current original footprint of the building. The planning report refers to the proposed siting as centered on existing dwelling, but in fact it's extended predominantly towards number 34 and also towards number 19 and 20 opposite. See image number 2. You see evidence here of local plans from 2002, My Deeds at number 34, and also from 2009, planning of the Saxon House. It indicates that the conservatory was not part of the original plan. The conservatory is a single-level, lightweight, unheated and non-structural addition, and there's no evidence indicating the conservatory has a legal status. The existence of an unapproved condition should not be justifying the siting of the replacement dwelling significantly closer to number 34. Next slide, please. Image number 1, the two plans on the left-hand side, refer to recent extensions at number 15 and the replacement dwelling at number 17. Both refer to in the planning report as examples of development similar to the proposed number 35. In green, you can see the original footprint of those buildings. Note that there are no windows or openings in the extended site elevations, and the proximity to the adjacent properties is similar to that proposed between number 35 and adjacent 34. On the right-hand side, you can see in different scale the proposed development at number 35. Again, in green, the existing original building footprint. Note the extended footprint at the ground floor level and two proposed windows with two full-height operable panels. A third of those windows will project above the fence line. The planning report states that in demolishing the conservatory, a greater separation will be achieved at number 34. That increase, in fact, will be only about 2 feet. Unlike small and rarely used unheated conservatory, these windows will serve an open-plan dining, lounge and serving kitchen, the most used part of the house every day. To safeguard amenity of number 34 and other neighbours, we would ask that the number 35 retains the original building.
Sorry, we have to stop. Thank you very much. I must say, it's a very good presentation. Does any councillor have a question for? No, you may take your seat. Thank you very much. Can you turn the microphone off for me, please? Thank you. Thank you. Okay, is the agent here, Mr. Abdul? As you heard earlier, you have 5 minutes when you press the button, okay?
Good evening, Chair and members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today regarding our proposal for the new build at 35 Brookdean Road. My name is Dipesh. I'm from DS2 Architects, acting agents. This application represents a carefully considered development opportunity shaped through extensive collaboration with Hillingdon Council Planning Department. From the outset, we worked closely with the planners to ensure that the proposals align with local policy and contribute positively to the character of the area. We followed council procedures and entertained an initial pre-app, which obviously this application follows, and all advice that was given in the pre-app has been reflected in the current proposals. The proposed dwelling is a self-built home for our clients, designed to sit comfortably within the existing streetscape. The design draws inspiration from the surrounding architecture, featuring masonry facades, keeping with predominant materials of Brookdean Road. It includes tiled pitch roof, which recently was lowered as a request from Hillingdon Planning Department, well-proportioned windows and a building line that respects the established street scene, ensuring that the new home integrates seamlessly into its context. We've taken care in ensure that the scale and the massing of the is appropriate, and the architectural detailing reflects both quality and sensitive to the local vernacular. The result is a fresh yet respectable addition to the estate, one that enhances the visual character of the road, and especially on that T-junction of Brookdean Road, and could inspire residential uplift and further redevelopment in the area, which can only be a positive to the local estate. While some objections have been raised, it is important to note that many are not planning related and therefore fall outside of the scope of material consideration. Just to pick up on a few of the items that the previous speaker mentioned, one of the points the previous speaker mentioned was the width of the second elevation, which adjacent to number 34 Brookdean Road. If you actually look at that, the width is almost similar to number 34 property. The car parking, which she raised as the first item, was an issue, but the main reason for bringing the car parking forward was the distance from the pre-existing garage to the main entrance was excessive for day-to-day usability and functionality. That's why the car park was brought in to the front, which makes the distance from offloading the car to getting to the house probably a third of the distance to some extent. And the final comment that the objector mentioned was the flank windows facing number 34. Now, most of the ground floor windows are on the behind the fence, which obviously number 34 is slightly lower down, so to some extent probably has no impact on the neighbouring amenity space. There's a window on the first floor, but that's an obscure window for a bathroom. So again, it has no direct impact on overlooking into the amenity space of number 34. In our view, there are no planning grounds on which this application could be reasonably refused. The proposal complies with relevant policies, has the support of the planning officers and contributes positively to the built environment. We therefore respectfully ask the committee to support this application and help bring forward a high quality sustainable new home for our clients. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you as well for your speech. Just a quick question on the parking that was mentioned by the petitioner. Was there a particular reason why, for such a large property, that one off-street parking space was deemed appropriate? And was it considered that maybe, as suggested elsewhere on the site, that you could have more off-street parking?
The main principal elevation, which is the main entrance elevation, distance there to the entrance or the property line, shall I say, to the edge of the pavement, it's only sort of 4.5 meters. So that's not going to work as a parking space. The other issue, we've got a TPO tree just on that corner as well. So therefore, any hard standing would never have gone through the planning system anyway. But the main reason is purely distance from parking up and then walking up to the main entrance. The reasons for having only one space, originally there was another tree in the front garden, and the whole scheme sort of revolved around trying to retain that tree, and a single car parking space was allowed and accepted by the planning department and highways. The tree subsequently was removed, and obviously there's plans to replace that tree, but because there's no intention from the planning department to say, look, why don't you go for your 2 parking spaces, it wasn't changed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take a seat. Fantastic. Okay, I'll open it to the floor. Councillor Davis.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you to the residents for speaking as well. I found that really, really helpful. My first question is, I've seen there's a condition gone in on the garage to prevent it being a family dwelling. Are we happy that condition is strong enough to prevent anything down the line? Is there anything that we can add that it has no water, no flushing toilet facilities, etc.? Is that something we could add?
Owen, can you pick them up?
Thank you, Chair. I think it's strong enough in terms of wording. I suppose the key as well is the outbuilding shall at no time be used for purposes such as living room, bedroom, kitchen, or a separate unit of accommodation. Now, it is in the curtilage of the actual property. There will be landscaping in front of it, so to actually access the property, they would have to go through the actual the entrance of the property, the main dwelling, In terms of experience of dealing with that through planning appeals and so forth, inspectors have taken the view that that would be considered incidental to the actual main function as a dwelling house to the front. So we've had a few recent appeals as well where we have lost on outbuildings, and we feel comfortable that this condition would be sufficient.
Councillor Davis?
Thank you, Chair. I have a second question, HMO related again. I've seen there's no conditions to protect this property being turned into a HMO. Is this in the Article 4 area? I couldn't see it, so...
No, it's not. But
no, and is there a condition that we can put to prevent... I know it will need planning permission, but is there anything that we can do at a planning level to protect the residents?
In terms of a scenario where you have an existing dwelling with existing HMO rights, we would not feel it would be unreasonable to attach a condition restricting C4 use. We have used that condition where they're creating a new unit on a curtilage before. However, in a case where they currently have the right to use it as a HMO up to 6 persons, we feel it'd be unreasonable to attach. Anything above that then would require the benefit of planning permission.
Thank you. I'll make way there, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bennett.
Very nice of Councillor Davis to make way for me. So, question just on the parking: is there any in the kind of in planning legislation anything we can do that requires a minimum amount of parking? So we say we've got this size property, we've only got one off-street parking space. I'm guessing there is that we have no reasonable grounds to refuse the application just based on that.
Unfortunately not, and I tend to agree with you. I can't understand why such a big property will only have one car parking, and I know where it is. It's not far from where I live. You need a car to get about there. But that's not a reason for refusal. All I could say is to residents that they could get a controlled parking scheme. So, and all of them won't need it because they've all got off-street parking, but anybody that parks on the road will have to have it. So that's another way around it, but that's nothing we can do. That's up to residents to do that. Okay.
Sure. No, I would echo Councillor Davis's comments around the petitioner. I thought it was a really good, really clear presentation, and I suppose this is a really tricky one in the sense of we may not want to approve it, but the challenge is there aren't sufficient planning grounds to be able to say no. And it reminds me of Parkfield Avenue in Ickenham, where we've had several very similar demolish and rebuild. The distances there between the houses is incredibly narrow. We've done a few site visits there, and we've had refusals overturned at appeal subsequently by the planning inspectorate in those occasions. So I think, if this was the first or second application of this nature on this street, there may be the situation may be different. But when there has been several demolish and rebuilds, and much in the case of, was it Saxon Court, sort of much larger apartment building, the reality is that the propensity for a refusal to be overturned at appeal is very, very high. And if that does happen, then kind of all of the work and the conditions that have been negotiated with the applicant through the process would have the risk of being lost. So on that basis, I'm happy to move officer's recommendation for approval.
Thank you. Councillor Singh.
Thank you, Chair. I'm quite happy to second.
Okay. Before we go to vote, I think we should actually compliment the applicant and the agent for doing the process correctly, which I think is really good. They went for a proposal, pre-app, which makes it a lot easier for something like this. And I mean, it's a very high standard of build with all the solar panels and everything. But as you said, I would particularly prefer another parking space, but it's not something we can refuse on. So can I have a show of hands, those in favour with the officer's recommendation? That's unanimous. So that has been approved. Now we go to the agenda. That is, where is it? Here we go. which is not a petition. I think there's going to be a change of chairs, isn't there? Yeah. We've sorted it out, have we? Right. So, Christos, whenever you're ready. Okay, over to you, mate.
Thank you, Chair. Item 8 refers to an application at Hillingdon Drive in Eastcote. Before starting the presentation, I would like to draw members' attention to the addendum sheet and the correction to condition 2, which refers to the list of approved plans. The application is made by Hillingdon Council and proposes the demolition of 16 studio bungalows and the erection of 21 affordable family-sized houses. The application site area is an irregular shape measuring 0.58 hectares. The site indicated by the red outline on the aerial view is located within a residential area 1 mile south of Northwood Hills Town Centre. The site abuts Joel Street to the west. Hayden School lies further west and Hayden Hall Meadows to the east. The site currently contains 4 rows of single-storey dwellings, providing a total of 16 one-bed studios, which are noted to provide substandard accommodation. Hayden Drive is otherwise formed of 2 to 3 story flatted developments. Vehicle access is provided via Hayden Drive to the southeast corner of the site. I'll now run through some photos. The first photo taken is from Joel Street facing towards the site on the southeast aspect. The next photo faces towards the centre of the site from Joel Street. This photo faces towards the northwest of the site and has numbers 183 and 185 Joel Street in view to the left of the picture. This photo shows the entrance to the public footpath that runs across part of the site to the north. This photo shows the existing open space to the north of the site and the footpath. This photo is looking back towards the flank wall of number 185. This photo is taken from Joel Street facing towards the neighbour 195. Again, this one's facing towards the flank wall of 195. This is taken from inside of the site. This one is taken from the centre point of the site facing east. This photo is taken from the east of the site facing west. This photo is a shot from the southeast corner facing northwest, and this photo is taken from the same position facing north. So moving on to the proposal is for a 100% affordable housing scheme that would be delivered as social rent tenure. The existing buildings are proposed to be demolished and replaced with 5 blocks, and the road will be adapted to accommodate the proposed layout with vehicle access being retained via Hayden Drive. Blocks A1 and A2 located in the centre of the site and Block D, which is located along Joel Street, are 2.5-storey buildings. Blocks B and C located to the east of the site are 2-storey buildings. The housing mix proposed would be 6 3-bed units provided in blocks B and C, and the remainder being 4-bed units. The scheme provides 25 car parking spaces, including 3 accessible spaces, which are all served by electric vehicle charging points. In addition, 2 motorcycle spaces are provided, and each dwelling would be provided with accessible storage for 2 bicycles. The proposal also comprises an extensive soft landscaping scheme which retains the majority of the existing trees and proposes additional planting to improve visual amenity and achieve the 10% biodiversity net gain. All of the units are provided with adequate private amenity spaces, and a dedicated children's play area and an area of open space are provided to the north of the site. The proposal has been shaped by extensive pre-application discussions along with resident and public consultations. The computer-generated image on the screen demonstrates how the proposal would harmonise with the surrounding built form. Due to the appropriate scale of development and the separation distances to neighbouring properties, residential amenity is preserved. The proposal also incorporates solar panels and has been developed in line with the London Plan energy hierarchy. Moving on to the detailed design of the individual buildings, starting with Block A1. This is a row of 5 4-bed dwellings which has a staggered layout. The building is characterised by green crown roofs and has a brick and hanging tile facade. Block A2 is of a similar scale, appearance and layout to Block A1, albeit it has 6, it's a row of 6 as opposed to 5. On the next slide, the top image shows the street elevation of Block A1 and the side elevation of Block A2. The image below shows the street scene elevation of Block A2 and the side elevation of Block D. The computer-generated image on the slide shows a view from the north of the site, facing south towards the frontage of Block A2, with Block A1 to the left and Block D in the distance to the right. Block B is located to the east of the site and is a 2-storey row of 3-bed dwellings. Similar exterior materials are proposed and the building is characterised by gabled roofs. Block C is situated next to Block B to the north. It has a similar appearance, albeit with a staggered layout. These 3 units are all wheelchair accessible. The next slide shows the street elevation of the proposed frontages for Block C and B. And the CGI on the screen shows a northwest view of the side rear elevation of Block B and the frontage of Block A1 just behind it. Block D is a 2.5-storey row of 4-bed dwellings that would be located along the building line on Joel Street. The proposed materials and gabled roof design are consistent with the overall development and draws design cues from neighbouring buildings. All of the units within the development achieve a high standard of accommodation and amenity. The next slide shows the Joel Street elevation of Block D and the relationship with the adjacent neighbours at numbers 195 and 197. This final slide shows a CGI image of the Block D and its Joel Street frontage and the neighbouring properties just further down the street. So to conclude, in officer's view, the proposal represents the optimal use of the site, resulting in a high quality scheme that increases the provision of family-sized, affordable housing within the borough, of which there is an identified local need. As detailed in the committee report, the application has been recommended for approval, subject to the completion of the Section 106 agreement and the conditions detailed in Appendix 1 of the report and the addendum. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Christopher. Okay, who wants to have the first go? Councillor Bennett, Councillor Davis.
Thank you, Chair. No, I really like this. I think all too often people have a perception of social housing, but we need more family-sized homes in the borough. We need more social housing, and I think the design and quality of what is proposed is really, really good. I just had a question, and I think it's very similar to what Councillor Davis asked on the last application. It's just around restricting use as a HMO at any point. That would need to come back for planning approval.
Yeah, and also these are ours. Okay, so they're out. We will be renting them out.
Yes.
What we need to make sure that, I agree with you, I know where you're going with this, that if residents do rent or are lucky to get one, that they can't sublet it. So I don't think that is a planning consideration though, but that would be my only concern about it. Yeah, and the other point is they at the rear of the buildings there is, I'll let officers explain the distance there, because I think the committee should be aware of that, okay? Ross, you want to?
Yeah, just to provide some reassurance around the query around HMO. So it is proposed as 100% affordable housing, so that the fact that it would be affordable housing would be secured through a legal agreement, and so I think that would address your concern. And then Chairman has asked me to refer you to blocks B and C. So these are, I don't know if someone can put the plan on, sort of on the east side. So it was just because they are relatively close to the neighbouring properties further east. So just to clarify, I've got the plan in front of me. So at the closest point, it'd be approximately 13.5 metres to this 2-storey element of Block B, 10.6 metres to the ground floor element that projects further. And just to explain that at first floor level on that rear elevation, all windows would be obscurely glazed. So officers considered that would be an acceptable relationship.
Okay, just wanted the committee to be aware of that, so it's something that can get overlooked quite quickly. Councillor Davis.
Officers just answered my questions, but from that plan that we saw, where the existing property, can we just go back to that?
The illustrated.
Yeah.
It's not real.
No, I just want to go back to that because I work that way. So just go one forward. So can I just? Yeah, that one there. So I can just confirm that dwelling in the centre of the screen is going to have it's going to have the obscure glazing, yeah.
All of them.
Yeah. So that block.
Not on this. Yeah, that block at the back, but the back of that property.
Yeah. So this one here on the side, there's going to be no windows or anything planned. So
no,
I'd need a pointer.
So you're talking about the second block.
I'm talking about the.
Let's start from the top. Let's start from the top.
No, so come to the bottom of the screen. To the bottom of the screen, you've got the 4 blocks there with the solar powers.
Yes.
That first block, is there any windows on the side of the existing dwelling? That's what I want to know.
They will be.
Do you understand?
Who's going to take that? Christoph, do you understand? So you see the front of on Joel Street, those 4 properties there.
Yeah.
The rear of those properties, there's obviously there windows. What is the distance of overlooking the 4 little sort of, I don't know, with green roofs in a line?
No, I'm talking about the ones without the green roof.
No, I know, you took ones in front of that.
Yeah.
But you want to know...
I want to know
on the front ones, what are the windows at the back?
Yeah, I want to know if there's going to be any windows on the side overlooking that pre-existing property, because that to me looks closer than the 13 metres.
It's a blank elevation.
It's just blank, yeah. No, that's fine. And if I can carry on, Chairman, I think this is an amazing development for us. We need these properties, so I'm happy to move with officers' recommendations.
Thank you, Councillor Bonana and Councillor Yuka. Okay.
Thank you, Chairman. That's a great idea, having affordable housing in the borough. I am for it. I'm happy to second.
Thank you. So it's proposed and second. Councillor Gaelic.
Thank you, Chair. Just have a kind of technical question about based on the energy assessment. So with solar panels, will they be for the benefit of the residents, or are there any common parts they used? And also, there was no mention about storage for this energy, so I wanted to know if there is storage or just solar panels. And also, why did we go for the low wattage rather than for the higher to achieve better outcome?
Do you want to take that?
So the submitted energy assessment provides a list of energy reduction measures, and that includes the use of solar panels and air source heat pumps, which will be serving the development as a whole. And those measures are conditioned to be implemented before the development is occupied. So
I think what Councillor Gaelic was trying to get at was that we put in those there to benefit the residents, so it's to keep their bills low, isn't it? Yeah?
Yeah, Chairman, just I think that what Councillor Gaelic is trying to convey is any of this energy storage going back into the grid. It wouldn't be. It'd be sufficient to power some of the development itself, but it wouldn't. I wouldn't have said it'd be completely self-sufficient. We should bear in mind that the London Plan requires a minimum carbon offset saving of 35%. This scheme would do in excess of that, so we believed it to be policy compliant. Thank you, Chair.
Does that answer your question?
No, just because I know that the panel units, they've got a wattage of 400.
Yeah.
I mean, at the moment you can get for 60 or 500. With the technology advancing so quickly, this development will finish, I think, 3 years from now.
Probably.
So,
yes,
I think if we go for more efficient panels, the price wouldn't be that much difference because you would need fewer panels.
Yeah.
Then the installation would be cheaper as well.
Okay, that's a very good point, because obviously the solar panels probably go at the end. So let's say we're buying solar panels at £100, but the technology in 2 years' time those panels might only cost 50 quid, so we might as well get the better quality ones. Is that what you're trying to drive at yet? It'd be interesting for us to be able to do that, wouldn't it? That'd be exciting. Look, officers are really putting through their paces today. No, you're absolutely right. Yeah, because you're right, things progress so fast in that area.
I think, so just to go back to what the policy position is, the policy position is 35%, yeah? So providing it's compliant with 35%, which it is, then all that we can insist on as planning case officers is for that carbon saving to be delivered on site. They are delivering that on site. We can't insist on them increasing that, so it wouldn't be for us to insist that a revised set of solar panels which are a higher grade are implemented.
Okay, so let's twist it the other way around. Let's twist it around the other way around. It is our application, so we are in control, so that's a good thing. So what I'm trying to say is that 1 second, yeah. What I'm trying to say is that it's a very good point that obviously say we've costed this out, and the recommendation to this committee is to use the most efficient 35% at the time. We can do that, can't we? We can say that at the time we want to use the most efficient solar panels that will generate 35%. So that we don't buy the solar panels now. They're probably one of the last things we buy. Yeah, do you want to go, Ross?
Yeah, I suppose my thoughts on it really, we obviously have to assess an application at the time when we receive it. So we have an energy assessment which is essentially based on the technology that's available. I think we sort of fall into tricky waters if we're trying to sort of pin applicants down to perhaps technology that, might not even have been developed yet. So I think we need to think about what is available at the time. I suppose if it was a big issue for members and you were concerned about it, perhaps I would suggest you might want to add an informative where perhaps you would, recommend to the applicant that they use the most efficient solar panels.
I think that would be smashing. I think it'd be good because we're in control of it. I think that would be good. You'd be happy with that, wouldn't you?
If I may sort of comment, Hillingdon Council is the applicant. I think you can insist on better quality, better efficiency.
Yeah, no.
Especially when this technology, let's say, of 500 watts exists already currently.
I know, Councillor Kelly, but it's an authority, so we're trying to work around the mechanism, as it were, right? So what? Yeah, go on, Ross.
Yeah, just to explain as well in planning terms, so whoever the applicant is irrelevant. Exactly. So we need to treat the applicant the same as any other.
So what we can do is we just forget that it's the council, and hopefully some of us will be still here when it comes back. But so we put an informative down to say that we agree with the 35% solar panel, but obviously if there's something more efficient that will generate that 35%, could we use that instead? Yeah? It's basically giving us, if we can save money, why not? We're costing it out, so if we use in 2 years' time, that same product might be half the price. So, we save half the money. Yeah? Which is probably not the right aspect that Councillor Gate was trying to get at, but I like saving money, so it's all good that way. Right, so, who is next? Councillor Singh.
Thank you, Chair. The building looks really nice. We need affordable houses, good idea. And may I ask the officers give us more details about the car parking and the tree planting, how many trees we are planting there?
Thank you. So the car parking provision is a total of 25 car parking spaces. And that includes 3 accessible spaces which are located directly outside those 3 accessible units. So there's also 2 motorcycle spaces, and each dwelling will be provided with cycle storage for 2 bicycles.
I'd like, if it's possible, can we allocate those spaces to each property? Is that possible?
Yeah, we've
to try and get, let's get this stuff out of the way because it's always a nuisance to residents.
we've recommended a condition that, which is number 11, for a parking design and management plan, so that would include details of how the spaces would be allocated and managed in perpetuity.
And I know, I saw in the report that you're doing my lovely environmental trees and helping the environment, so that's really good. So, I've been proposed and seconded. Can I show of hands those in favour of this application? That's unanimous, Ryan. Oh, thing. So, right. So we move on now to the Morrison Supermarket, and I won't ask Councillor Bennett to give me the story about Morrison Supermarket. We'll just wait for substitutes coming on and... So Michael, they have to make you carry your own... I love it. Okay.
One of those?
Yeah. Whenever you're ready. Councillor Lana. Yeah, but it's making us... Without it, we're hot. Can we try and fix it towards... Okay, 1 second. No, don't turn it off. Just point it to this direction. That's it. All right, that's it. Stop there. Yes, that's lovely. Thank you. Now, obviously, you guys are in short skirts. We're wearing jackets. So, right, whenever you're ready, Michael.
All right. Thank you, Chair. Just to start, please be advised there is an addendum for this item with some minor updates to condition wording. Sorry. There's a bit of delay with the clicker. There you go. So item 9 relates to the Morrison Supermarket site, located on the High Street in Newsley and West Drayton Town Centre. The site is occupied by a large, vacant, two-storey building, having closed as a Morrison Supermarket in August 2021. A parade of shops with flats above are located to the north and east of the site. A block of flats is located to the south, beyond which is the Grand Union Canal. The St Matthew's Primary School also adjoins the site to the west. The site is located within a designated primary shopping area, town centre, and the Heathrow Opportunity Area. It is declared as part of a Hillingdon Air Quality Management Area and an Air Quality Focus Area, and the public transport accessibility level is 3. That's a bird's eye view of the site. And some photos. So this is how the site appears as of today, as viewed from the High Street. So that's looking north. That's again looking north, but with more context. This is looking south, again towards the Morrisons, or former Morrisons building. That's north towards the parade of shops. That's south, including the flats opposite, and the bridge in the background. Here, that's St Stephen's Road, which provides access to the rear of the site. This is St Stephen's Road again. This is the access, existing access provided to the canal. That's how the Morrison site appears as existing from St Stephen's Road. This is the same to the rear of Morrison's again. You can see how St Stephen's Road is currently being used due to the Morrison site being vacant. So I do keep clicking and it's not going. There you go. Yeah. Oh. And that's the St Matthew's Primary School next door. One more time, and there you go. Photo of the canal. This is providing you some context. There you go. Perfect. So this application seeks permission to demolish the existing building that we saw there and redevelop the site for a replacement food store with 64 retail car parking spaces and 158 flats above with 24 residential car parking spaces. I should probably say whilst that's going. Please note that planning permission was granted in 2019 for a very similar form of development, including a replacement food store and 8-storey building with 144 residential units. An amendment application was also refused in 2020. It sought amendments to reduce the number of residential parking spaces from 101 to 23 spaces. Whilst Hillingdon refused the application on highways grounds, the planning inspectorate allowed it at appeal. And this, in essence, establishes that the provision of much lower parking provision relating to the residential use is acceptable on this site. Proposed site plan. So the development ranges from 8 stories down to part 765. I'm having real trouble with this. Yeah, let me have a go. Go back one, sorry. Yeah, 2 main forms of massing, one to the front facing the High Street and one to the back facing St Stephen's Road. And as you can see, a many space is proposed in between the 2 blocks. See if it works. Okay, Chris can do it. The proposal is going to use the existing basement but in a modified arrangement. Next slide. The retail space will be located on the ground floor level, next slide, and the mezzanine level, so it's on 2 floors. And then you've got residential use above on the 1st floor, next slide, 2nd and 3rd, next slide, 4th, next slide, 5th and 6th, next slide, 7th. Perfect. That's the roof plan. You've got PV panels as part of the energy strategy and green roof. Next slide, yeah, perfect. So High Street elevation. So this is the proposed front elevation. You can see the retail use at ground level there and the articulation of the residential uses above. Next slide. This is how it would appear from St Stephen's Road. So compare that to what I was showing before in terms of the photos. Sorry, one back, Chris. And then you'd have all the servicing at ground level there with some tree planting to benefit that aspect there. Next slide. And then these are the more ancillary secondary elevations that would be less prominent from public spaces. Right. So in summary, the proposed redevelopment of a sustainably located brownfield site is considered acceptable in principle. The retail unit would generate jobs on a site which has remained vacant since August 2021, and new residents of the development would support the vitality and viability of the town centre in conjunction with the retail use as well. And this significantly weighs in favour of the proposal in the planning balance. The delivery of residential units is supported. The unit mix is accepted on balance. Following a third-party review of the viability assessment, it is agreed that the development would actually generate a deficit, but is within the range of deliverability when accounting for growth in the market. So despite this, the developer has made a 10% shared ownership offer of affordable housing equal to 13 units. This offer itself increases the deficit and reduces its viability and deliverability. So noting that, this is concluded to be or represent the maximum viable affordable housing provision deliverable on this site. If approved, we would secure that by legal agreement with early and late stage review mechanisms to ensure we secured any uplift in terms of viability. Whilst some matters have been identified as conflicts with planning policy, we consider there to be sufficient mitigating factors and benefits which outweigh the conflicts. Planning obligations are proposed to be secured for, as I said, affordable housing, air quality, canal enhancement, carbon offset, active travel and healthy streets contributions, car club, employment strategy, parking permits, travel plans, and health contribution. It's considered that all the comments raised by residents have been addressed in full, and for the reasons set out in the report, the application is recommended for approval, subject to conditions, Section 106, and a GLA Stage 2 referral. I pass back to you, Chair.
Thank you, Michael. As usual, nice to see you back again. Nice report. Councillor Bennett, I think you wanted to indicate it.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I don't like the reduction in parking, and I think we were probably right to refuse that, but the reality is if the planning inspectorate's overturned that, you know, I know this well. I drive through usually every day to go to work. At the high street scene, all of the shops have flats above. If I think about the Useley Library replacement that was approved last year, you know, it's an area where this is all very common. I would be happy to move officers' recommendation for approval, particularly as we've got sizable Section 106 contribution. All I would say, just in case Morrisons are watching, is you know, will be the third application that's been approved here. Currently, this vacant retail unit is a stain on the high street. It's really not contributing to the vitality and vibrancy, I think was the phrase used by Michael, in the area. So please, you know, it would be great to see this site redeveloped.
Concur. Thank you for proposing that. Councillor Walana.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know when the developer, they had an exhibition in the church. I was a councillor in Useley. I would like to see this developed. It's done. It's been ISO in the middle of the Useley ward for many, many years. People are sick and tired of this, seriously. It's attracting fly tipping and all that nonsense over there. But the only concern is what is the safeguarding, how they would have prayed when they demolished this, because St. Stephen is a very, very congested road. And then High Street itself, right from, as rightly Councillor said, that from the junction before the bridge all the way towards High Street is very, very busy. So I don't know what will happen. There will be gridlock totally and jam. And we need to see this is happening.
Yeah. Pick up a point, Councillor. That's a long time ago when you were, because obviously you're not a councillor usually anymore. Yeah. Otherwise it would be a conflict of interest. So, okay. So we'll clear that one up just in case people are watching. Councillor Garlick.
Thank you, Chair. I think I'm looking for some clarification because we know that we are getting health contribution through S106, but also local plan states that the council should ensure that there's social infrastructure provided to cater for the needs of existing community in future, considering the number of units there. Is there any mention in the policy or a plan or gives priority to, let's say, nursery provision or early year centres? Because that's also important. And if we could ask for extra contribution.
I'll ask for you. Who wants to take that? It's not head of terms, is it, at the moment? So where are we with it, with the 106? Katie? She's left it.
As part of the contributions, that would be securing quite a large community infrastructure levy. So that would be addressed, so the funding of that would be addressing the matters you've raised.
So the 10% of affordable housing, is that, that's what you're saying, understand it?
At the SIL.
At the SIL level, yeah. So that will go there. But they're doing some fantastic work with the canal and everything around there. Go on.
Specifically wanted to know if there will be any contribution to the education side or early years provision.
Ross, can you take it?
Yeah, thanks. Perhaps I can help clarify. So we don't specifically secure education or early years contributions because that would be funded through SIL contributions. So that's based on a formula for all SIL liable development. So the SIL contribution will be in addition to the heads of terms that you see set out in the report. Just to clarify around the health, so we wouldn't usually have a specific health contribution necessarily, but because there is the 10% affordable, we have what we call the hoodoo contribution, which is related specifically to that. So I hope that helps.
Sounded like you made that one up, but Councillor Davis and then Councillor Singh.
Thank you, Chairman. My first question is, are we happy or have we approached the developer on the design and layout? Because I know that there's a very small number of 3-bedroom properties, I've lost the number, and I think we have a need for that. I did note that the developer mentioned something along the lines of that they may not be able to afford to carry on if it wasn't the ratio that's been put forward. I don't think we should be held hostage effectively if we can get more family dwellings in that property.
Who wants to take that one?
Yeah. Yep.
Chris.
Michael.
Sorry. Michael, so you're frightening me, Michael. Sorry.
Thank you, Chair. Completely appreciate your points on design, unit mix. These were concerns raised as part of the application process. The proposal does include a percentage equal to circa 11% family units, which is, from memory, 18 family units on this site. Like you say, the reason for that is related to viability. We've been through an extensive viability process, which confirms that the development that's actually before us today generates a deficit. And in order to actually secure any affordable housing on the site, we've made an on-balance planning decision to support it as proposed with the unit mix that is before us. That's what we think is the best approach. It's also worth saying, as mentioned previously, there were consents previously on this site which were very similar in design, and if anything, whilst this one might increase the height somewhat, it does improve some of the relationship with St Stephen's Road, with the separation between the blocks. So again, it's a balance here. That's probably how it is.
Yeah, Mark, I think you're right. I think I'd rather something being done rather than something not being done, because we're going to be sticklers of over 10% rule. Councillor Davis.
Thank you. I'll take that on balance, of course. The second question is relating to parking. 24 spaces for 158 flats, and then there's 4 accessible spaces for 16 wheelchair accessible flats. Parking doesn't sit right with me, Chairman. We've got 16 wheelchair accessible flats with only 4 accessible parking spaces. And also, what controls are we putting in to stop the shoppers using the residential parking and vice versa?
Michael, there's one to tease you.
Thank you, Chair. So, noted on the accessible parking spaces, this is an established point in planning policy. They don't require that you provide a parking space for every accessible unit. There's a requirement for 10% accessible units across the site, but there's not a requirement for every single unit to be provided with a parking space. On that basis, we've landed with, as you say, provision of 4 accessible spaces, and I think that's considered to be appropriate in this scenario. We've lost the screen again. On a planning policy front, I don't think we could dictate that they provide any more. But it's worth saying that there is a parking, I can't remember what the condition number is, but there's a parking design and management plan which does require a review based on demand of accessible parking spaces. So in theory, if in future there is demand, then some of those standard parking bays could be flipped to accessible. So that there is a provision based on demand.
Yeah, that's good. So they're the priority if there's an issue. Dr. Tilley.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Staying with the disabled parking, the London Plan standard is 3% of car parking bays must be provided for disabled people from the outset, with capacity to increase it to 10% in response to demand. Regarding this development only having 22 car parking spaces plus 2 car club spaces, this development, its location, really lends itself to a car-free lifestyle. It's got a PTEL ranking of 3, walking distance to West Drayton Station, where you've got the Elizabeth line. It's in a primary shopping centre. We've already had mention that there's a school in close proximity, and the surrounding streets are all governed by parking restrictions. So if any place can work with such low car parking ratios, I would suggest that this place is as ideal as you can get. It's also got a Section 106 contribution to improve the footway from the High Street onto the Grand Union Canal, and we're very pleased to report that the upgrade of the canal towpath is going along very well, which provides access to West Drayton Station, Uxbridge, beyond to Hayes, and if you're very fit, all the way to Paddington.
Exactly.
So plenty of travel choice.
Or get a barge and you can catch that all the way through. If you got all.
And as Mike reminds me, we also have a travel plan.
Yeah, okay. Can we, obviously, how many 3 bedrooms have we got?
18.
18.
Yep.
And there's 24. It's going to be a bit difficult. It's going to be a bum fight for the things. Okay, if that's not our concern, is it? Are we asking can they be allocated? It's going to be a bit hard to allocate them. Yeah, condition in there? Okay. Councillor Davis, you've got another question?
I do. Can we just add a controlled parking scheme for either the shopping centre or for the flats where it's AMPR managed? Because that way it would prevent the residents parking in the shop parking and the shop parking in the residents. Because that's going to be the issue here. Is on a Saturday you've got 24 parking spaces that are going to be full, and people are going to jump in them extra. So can we do a controlled management scheme where it needs to be AMPR managed, or the residents need to have a sticker in their window, etc.? Can we look at that and defer that to the chairman?
Yeah, Ross has picked, there is something in the committee, in the report.
I may have missed it.
Oh, that's fine.
Thank
I
you,
miss things all the
Chairman.
time.
So there is a sort of a bit more of a generic worded parking management condition. My suggestion would be to sort of leave it as we have worded it, and when the details are submitted, we'll have to consider, there could be sort of multiple approaches, for example, so I wouldn't want to be too specific in the condition. I'll read it out and you can see what you feel. So prior to first occupation of the development, a parking design and management plan shall be submitted to and approved in writing by the local planning authority. This shall detail car parking provision indicating how the car parking will be designed and managed with reference to Transport for London guidance on parking management and parking design. This should ensure that parking spaces are allocated appropriately, are leased and are not sold. It should also identify future provisions for electric vehicle charging points and disabled persons parking should a review identify that additional provision is required. And it goes on to say that that plan shall be implemented as approved and shall remain in force for the life of the development.
That's good, but it doesn't mention anything about the shops. Yeah. Where do the shop people park? The same spaces, or...?
I mean, essentially, it's asking us for a sort of design and management arrangements for the entire thing.
Okay, so we can bring that you'll come back to you guys, yeah?
Yes, exactly that, but the shoppers will park in the basement, where 64 parking spaces are provided.
So,
64, 66, sorry. Whichever.
Yeah, so I don't think there'll be that many customers for Morrison's. Usually
you never know, Chairman. On that basis, I'm happy to second.
Councillor Gerlich, I can hear you in the background.
Thank you,
Go
Chair. Yes, so my question is about now. So there's a note here that very few units, there are few units with single north-facing aspect. So I don't know, any idea how many of those units, and is it like totally all the windows in the units which are single aspect, north-facing? Because if that's the case, normally through the year they wouldn't have any direct sunlight, so I don't think it's sufficient level of quality of accommodation.
Does it adhere to the provision of human rights on the lighting?
So this has been third-party reviewed by daylight and sunlight specialists who've concluded that it accords with the BRE guidelines for daylight and sunlight provisions.
That's covered there, Councillor Gelling. Any other questions? Councillor Singh.
Thank you, Chair. Actually, Councillor Davis, he asked about the parking question, and I got the other 50% answer. Can we make sure the section 106 money we spend surrounding that area, nobody...
Yeah, I think that's what it is. If it's tied up already around the canal and everything else. So I think it is sort of there, isn't it? Everybody trying to have a nod from someone? The 106? Yes? So we spent mostly, 106 is going to be spent on that site, basically.
I mean, essentially, I'd refer you to the heads of terms, so the heads of terms do set out
obviously the SIL
where it would be.
The SIL element will obviously go to SIL, but most of it, the officers have been really clever to get a lot of it, but a lot of the 106 money spent on that area, so I think that I'm quite happy with that. Councillor Bennett.
Yeah, just one point based on Councillor Gerlich's point there was, and I mentioned this before, I think it was actually the Useley Library application, because the same comment was made by one of the ward councillors. I live in an apartment, it's northwest facing, I don't deem the property I live in to be poor quality housing. In fact, most apartments in the country probably only have lighting on one aspect. I just think, yeah, it's, worth asking the question, but I don't think we can sit here and say these houses are poor quality.
Thank you, Councillor. I don't think Councillor Gerlich was trying to imply that, but anyway, look, we've proposed and seconded. Can I show hands of those in favour with this planning application? That's unanimous again. God, rolling here. Right. Union Park, UB4. Where's that noise coming from?
Right, before I start again, this item 10 has an addendum with, again, some minor clarifications on condition wording and section 106 head of term wording. So, item 10 relates to the fourth data centre block called UP4, or Union Park 4, on the Union Park data centre campus, which is under construction now. The site measures 1 hectare in area and forms part of the Ballsbridge industrial estate in Hayes. The site previously comprised a warehouse building used by Addison Lee, and the site has been since been vacated and the warehouse has been demolished under permitted development rights. The site is designated as a strategic industrial location. The area is predominantly characterised by the Union Park data centre development. The railway runs to the north, the canal runs to the south, beyond which is the Hayes Village residential development along Nestles Avenue. Hayes Town Centre is also to the northwest of the site. And worth saying as well, the site is part of a air quality management area and air quality focus area. So this is the site as seen from bird's eye view pre-construction. So it shows the warehouse standing, and it shows the site to the east as undeveloped. So these are some much more up-to-date photos of the site as it exists. This is the site as it can be seen from Hayes Village, which is the nearest residential use to the site. This is another photo slightly further down the canal. Provides a bit more of the setting. Again, to the right is the more commercial element of Hayes Village, and to the left is this site itself. The kind of smaller building in the foreground, there is the pre-existing warehouse, and the buildings in the background are the under construction data centre. This is some more pictures again showing the data centre under construction, and this is from North Hyde Gardens, which again shows the data centre in its context under construction. So the application seeks permission for the redevelopment of the site to deliver an extension to the Union Park data centre campus, including a data centre block, energy centre and associated works and landscaping. Again, planning permission was granted in 2021 and 2022 for the data centre campus. The principle for data centre use of this industrial site is therefore established. So this shows the proposal within the wider context. As shown here, it would sit next to the UP3 or Union Park 3 data centre block. to the west. This is a bit more zoomed in, showing the proposal of the UP4 data centre block to the eastern side or right-hand side of the plan, energy centre EC4 to the left-hand side of the plan, and then ancillary block, which is used as office space in the main, connecting the two. That's the landscaping plan. It includes or shows proposal for green roof and PV panels on top of UP4. You've got a staff amenity garden space on the southern side or bottom of the plan there, and additional tree planting on the western side as well. And you can see how the site would connect and provide access. There is a car park on the southern side of UP4 at the bottom.
Sorry, Mark, I was just trying to ascertain if there's still, on the other side there's a canal path, but it looks like the green has gone over it.
Yes, the canal exists and it would not be affected by this proposal. So this is the proposed ground floor plan. On the right hand side you can see the data centre layout. In the main it's proposed to be used for ancillary mechanical plant with some other ancillary space. On the left hand side you can see the energy centre, which comprises in the main of 14 diesel generators. They are for backup purposes in the event that there's a grid outage, so they'd support the use in that event. This is the first floor plan. The yellow space there is the data hall, which is where all the computers are stored. Provides the main function of the data centre, and it's the same arrangement on the second floor plan, third floor plan, and fourth. And I guess just worth clarifying on the left-hand side, where the energy centre is, this is where the chimney flues would be connected to the generator use. Right-hand side, like I said, green roof, PV panels, and related plant. This is the proposed north elevation. This is the least sensitive elevation proposed because it faces the railway. So experiencing this view would be in the main at a glimpse if you were using the train, etc. This is the south elevation. This is the much more sensitive elevation. It would face towards Hayes Village and the Grand Union Canal. And this is the west elevation, which you might again see somewhat from Hayes Town Centre, but from a distance. And then, yes, there is a proposed lighting scheme. So the proposal has been designed to remain largely in keeping with the wider development, while giving special architectural treatment to Energy Centre Block 4. This includes this evening time lighting scheme, which is considered to enhance the animation and interest of the building at that time of day. In summary, data centres are an appropriate use in a strategic industrial location and are considered to have a significant economic and employment benefit. The proposal is therefore supported and accepted in principle. Through consultation with the Greater London Authority, the Council have confirmation that infrastructure providers are deploying solutions to resolve power capacity issues in West London. As the applicant has secured a connection to the power grid, it is confirmed that the proposal would not overburden the local grid capacity. Whilst the development is large, it respects the emerging character of the area and is accepted. The proposal would reduce trips generated by the site, would encourage more sustainable forms of transport for a travel plan, contributions towards healthy street, active travel zone measures and canal enhancements. Carbon and air quality emissions are identified as potential harms, but these impacts would be mitigated by the extensive number of conditions proposed, as well as Section 106 planning obligations proposed. It is considered that the comments raised by residents have been addressed in full, and for the reasons set out within the report, the application is recommended for approval subject to conditions, Section 106, and a GLA Stage 2 referral. I pass back to you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I'm going to call you Chris. I wasn't ready. Michael, thank you very much. Councillor Bennett and Councillor Davis.
Thank you very well, Chair. No, I don't think we need to spend too long on this one. I quite like the twilight shot there at dusk. It's in an industrial area. We need more data centres. I don't really know what a data centre should look like from the outside, but that looks pretty easy on the eye. Clearly there's been a lot of due diligence in terms of the design and its impact, and also in terms of connecting to the power grid, so I'm happy to move officer's recommendation for approval.
Thank you, and you can also see Terminator in the corner there with his red eye. Councillor Davis.
Thank you, Chairman. I just have a quick question on fire. So as we know, this area itself was very famous, very short, not that long ago. So that substation we're taking the power from was the one that set fire and shut down Heathrow Airport. What's fire suppression, let me go the other way. The fire statement that's been submitted, has that been independently checked? Because I see there's been no report from the London Fire Brigade. And if we're putting 14 diesel generators in a site that's already been close to fire, I'd be a bit concerned. So I just want to know if that's been independently checked.
Michael, do you want to pick that up?
So the London plan sets out fire safety requirements that should be considered at the planning stage. The applicant has submitted a fire statement by a qualified third-party assessor. As Councillor Davies has said, the London Fire Brigade have not commented, but we take that response as they don't have any significant concerns or issues with the proposal. The same with the Health and Safety Executive, who again have not provided us a substantive response. The Greater London Authority, who do have more in the way of specialist resource, have considered the report submitted and have not raised any significant concerns with it. And to add to that, we have also proposed that a final and detailed fire statement or strategy is secured by planning condition, where it could be further scrutinised. In essence, the principle of what's being proposed here is acceptable. It's the fine technical detail that needs to make sure that it is safe for the purposes of fire. Again, probably also worth noting, these uses are not well staffed. They don't have loads of people on them, and it is some distance from the nearest residence. It's a good 60 to 70 metres away across the canal. On the other side, you've got the railway. So, yeah, technical detail plus site context, on balance, it's accepted.
Good learning plan.
Chairman, I'm happy to second officer's recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Gaelic and then Councillor Sensibori.
Thank you, Chair. So I can see that the height of the building will be 32 metres. Is this correct?
32.8.
32.8. Also a question. You showed us a photo with lights on. Will the lights be internal lights through the night? Will it look like airport terminal, or will they be extinguished for some part of the night?
So the current intention is that it's 24/7, and it's a soft glow which is sensitive to neighbouring residents, ecological corridor, canal users, etc. That was considered from a design, neighbourly perspective, ecological perspective, as acceptable.
And Councillor Sensibori?
Yes, as the development is industrial area, is not going to affect general public, and as the officer, it will have a positive effect on economy and employment. So I will support this development.
Thank you very much. Just a quick one. Generating time when they have to test it. I've seen it in the report, but I just want to sort of inform public so that we know that it's that we know it's under control, so it's not going to affect people and pollution and diesel and all that.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Condition 9 limits the number of hours per year, and it also limits the hours that they can test within to between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. So more sociable hours of the day.
So I've been proposed and seconded. Can I show hands? All those in favour? Unanimous again. We have an easy night tonight, right? Okay. Next one is former garage site, 43 St Christopher Road. And here we go.
Thank you, Chairman. Okay, the item 11 relates to the development at the former garage site adjacent to 43 St Christopher's Road. The development comprises of the demolition of the existing garages and construction of a pair of semi-detached dwellings with associated parking and external works. Before taking you through the presentation, I just would like to provide a verbal update on this item, as a written representation was received today, raising concerns with the development. The concerns relate to how the development could contribute to the decline of this street, and references specifically the high number of HMOs which are causing problems in relation to parking. In addition, the objection states that the current site is plagued with rats. I'll now take you through the slides. So here we have the location plan. You'll see the garages set within the red area. Location plan again, the site is this time shown within the red outline. Here is the existing plan with the garages illustrated. The red outline indicates the location of the proposed dwellings overlaid. Here we have a bird's eye view. You'll notice that the the site is in a backland location. To the north of this bird's eye view, there are two-storey semi-detached dwellings, the same to the west and the same to the south. Here is the entrance to the site from off of St Christopher's Road. Although the access appears to be fairly narrow there, we do need to remember that it is an access point for a former garage site. Here is the site photograph from the access at the front of the road. Here's a photograph of the site. The site has been subject to antisocial behaviour. Some of that you'll see on the front of the garages, which have been defaced with graffiti. There also are some reports of fly tipping within the area. Here's just a closer view of some of those antisocial issues. And again, here is a site plan. So you've got plot 1 and plot 2. Both properties are set within generous landscaping. Given the site accommodates almost completely hard standing with buildings on it, there's a significant uplift in greening, planting, and there's also one space located at the front of each of the two properties for off-street parking. Here is the proposed ground and first floor. Both properties are 3-bed properties for which the development plan advocates for. In particular, there is an underlying need throughout the borough for 3-bed plus properties, which are considered to be family-sized units. Just on this plan, I'll draw members' attention to one of the limitations which is derived from the constraints of the site. So what you'll see on this plan is to the west of this plan there are some residential gardens. The front elevation, which faces, if I can move, can't move that anymore. Oh, here we go. Alright, it's not moving. So the front of the elevation faces directly at the rear garden of number 45. The windows in the upper floor of the elevation are oriel windows. For those of you who haven't come across those before, they have obscure glazed panels in this section, which will prevent overlooking of that garden that you saw in the previous slide. but they will have a clear panel to the side. The reason why the buildings have been staggered in this fashion is not only for visual articulation, but also to prevent any looking left or right directly into the oriel window on the other side. The site is a backland development site. In accordance with DMH6, the applicant is required to demonstrate that the scale and design of the property is more modest. Although the ridge line of the two dwellings is comparable to the existing two-storey dwellings within this location, you will note it is in a different design that allows for some visual separation. Although the extent of the front facade is comparable to most of the dwellings within this location, it is considered the fact that there's two set within quite a large amount of landscaping that it would in fact comply with DMH6 requirement to be more modest in scale. Here we have a section key. The section key does indicate that both properties would have adequate head height. I can confirm that both the internal and external living spaces exceed the minimum requirements. Okay, just in terms of a summary, the existing garages on the site are currently vacant, have been for some time. The proposal offers an opportunity to construct new family housing within a brownfield site, which is heavily supported within the development plan. The design of the development, as stated, is appropriate for its backland location. And it should also be noted, has been through a number of design iterations, both pre-app and during the application process. The incorporation of oriel windows would mean that there is no overlooking of neighbouring gardens, and that's sufficiently safeguarded. Appropriate parking, internal and external living spaces are provided. And the scheme offers an opportunity for significant increases in planting and biodiversity. Based on these points and those set out in further detail within the committee report, the application is recommended for approval. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Davis, Councillor Singh. Councillor Bennett and Councillor Singh. He was smiling at me.
Yes. Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I mean, I think you can see the photos of the site. Easy to see how fly tipping takes place there, litter everywhere, graffiti. I think this can only improve the area and the situation, and the reality is, as much as some people do still require garages, often they're used for storage. They're too small for modern cars. I just had a couple of questions. One was on the access road. Are we able to enforce the painting of double yellow lines? I'm just thinking in terms of emergency vehicle access, a number of properties there. Currently there isn't anything there. I'm assuming the applicant, as in Hillingdon Council, is also the owner of the access road? But maybe I've assumed wrong.
No, you're correct. We can do that. Can't we put informative to have double yellows on?
It could be dealt with outside of the planning process. Yeah. I'd probably hand over to Dr. Tilley to confirm what that process might be.
Informative, couldn't we, or something like that?
Yep.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. It's not adopted highway, and there's no proposals as part of the application to adopt it. So the highway authority would not be able to provide double yellow lines on the road and then enforce them. So that's where I then step back. The owners of the highway, which I suspect may be the housing department, could put double yellow lines down and get a private enforcement company to enforce those double yellow lines. But it's a very good point, and something we'd have to take away and see what the best solution would be.
Thank you, Dr. Tilley. That just sounds like something out of Yes Minister, really. That was brilliant.
For the record, for perpetuity, for anyone in Hillingdon Council watching this, regardless of what department owns the road and the service road, it is owned by the council. I wouldn't be happy to approve this application if there wasn't a mechanism in there to ensure that a fire engine or an ambulance could easily get to two social housing at the end of the road. It's a narrow road, and I see this in my ward where we have very narrow service roads, and this hasn't been taken into account.
I'm led to believe we're not building this, we're selling it with plans.
Right.
Okay, I believe so. Is that correct?
Sorry to interrupt and intervene, but I just want to be clear about where we want the yellow lines painted, because I think there might be a bit of confusion as to where we could put them in order to prevent anyone blocking the access. I think this is working. Are we saying that we want those yellow lines across the bell mouth of the access?
No, down the
actually
access.
Down the access itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. In that case,
because it would move from being a service road for two houses that are in much closer proximity to the main highway to almost a lane that goes down to those two houses, and then another two that are set much further back away from the roadway.
I think Alan would be correct in that. Sorry, it's my confusion. I just wanted to make sure we were talking about the right location. Chairman?
Just to clarity, this is not affordable, and this is not rented accommodation. So it's an application that we might build it, or we might sell it with plans. So we don't know at the moment. Okay? So I think what we can do as a committee, if it is ours and we're going to build it, we will insist as an informative that access to this site is made accessible for fire vehicles, whatever elements can be. You guys will come up with the wording, but I don't think we can condition it, but we can informative, yeah?
If that's the best option.
Yeah, it's the best, because we don't know what it's for at the moment. All we've got is we know that it's not affordable and it's not there. Councillor Ross. John.
So I was just discussing with Chris, I mean, if there's concerns around access, we could put a condition on to say that details are submitted to show how it will be kind of managed effectively.
Is that okay?
That is, yeah, and my second question, and that is just around street lighting. So again, particularly if we've had an objection that the area suffers from antisocial behaviour, and we can see in the photo evidence that yes, it does. If you're building two houses that are set back from the nearest street lighting, the main roadway, is one around the ASB, and two, just the safety of the people who live there, is there provision for street lighting, for example, in front of the properties where you could install a lighting column? I was also going to ask on the service road, but I think that the answer to my previous question indicates that wouldn't necessarily be possible.
Thank you, Chairman. And I completely agree. Condition 5, which is the landscaping condition 2.2F, requires details of external lighting to be provided. So we would be assessing external lighting within that. If we weren't happy with the details, then we'd be requesting an amendment.
When we say they have to provide details of the lighting.
Correct.
If they detail there isn't any,
then we have the ability to refuse it if we saw fit.
And would you see fit? My question.
Imbalance. Yeah, I mean, I think it'd probably be excessive to place in the condition that we wanted to see a specific light within a specific location. We do need to bear in mind that the provision of two properties in this location is naturally an increase in surveillance. So that, combined with the fact that we've got an external lighting point within the condition, should be sufficient for us to determine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Councillor Singh.
Thank you, Chair. Like we already discussed, the road is quite narrow. May I ask the officers, how many parking spaces available for those properties?
Yeah, so the PTAS 1B, in accordance with the London plan, the provision is 1 per unit, and that it complies with the maximum London plan standards. Thank you.
But you could get more on there. The site looks like it could hold more than one car, two cars, doesn't it? Have you allocated spaces, or is it the design? I was looking at this. I've got the design in front of me. It looks like it doesn't allocate a parking space. It just allocates
one. Yeah, there's one per unit.
Yeah.
What I would say, Chairman, is that I think the maximum London plan standard is 1.5.
Yeah. So that's half.
If we have 4, then that would exceed the maximum London plan standard.
But we can have 1.5 for each site. Can we? I'm only cheating with you. Right, Councillor Davis.
Yeah, I was going to ask a question on parking as well, but Councillor Singh, I'll let you have that one. My concern is if we were to allow this development to go ahead, it's down the line that they could further development, add further developments to this property, which could become a nuisance to the existing neighbours. Is there a way that we could remove permitted development rights? Is that something we can do?
Chris, you take this up. I think it's been very difficult to get these two on it. So I mean, if it came back to
but my worry, Chairman, is that you could build a double loft conversion and a small add-on to this property.
That's fine.
Yeah, I'd just like to refer Councillor Davis to condition 15, which restricts PD rights for outbuildings, extensions and roof alterations. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Yeah, perfect.
Councillor Walana.
Thanks, Chairman. It's extremely a narrow road and a populous area. Undoubtedly, there is always, the issue of parking. Also, issue of fly tipping and all that you have seen in the pictures. There will be, I'm a bit concerned about the mechanism of how this work will commence and the mechanism. Obviously there will be road closure or dust or heavy vehicles will be coming while this is taking place.
You talk about construction? Yeah, there's two access points at the moment anyway, so isn't there?
Yeah, that's correct.
Come from the other side.
Yeah, there's one access point, which is via the main access point to the front here, which is what we're seeing.
Can you put them up?
What I would say is, just in response to the construction point, is construction is covered by a condition, demolition and construction, condition 7. So we've got a plan in place which would come to both case officers in consultation with the Highways Authority, and that would be Dr. Tilley. So providing we're content with the construction details that are provided within that document, we would grant approval. Just to give a bit more context about what that covers a programme for the demolition, the traffic management and access arrangements, the measures to reduce the impact of development in terms of air quality and dust suppression, and the storage and demolition of construction materials on site. So it's quite a specific condition that covers all construction points. We wouldn't normally impose those conditions on a 2-unit scheme, but given the constraints of the site, that's why we're imposing it here.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Absolutely brilliant. Okay, Councillor Walala.
It does surprise me to see that resident did not receive consultation letters.
Okay. Chris?
Yeah, just to cover that point. So we, in accordance with the legislation, we're required to undertake one of two forms of consultation. One would either be neighbour letters. We will send letters to adjacent properties. To hand, I don't have what exact property numbers those are, but I can say that we, at the very least, would have consulted with the neighbours directly adjacent to the site. Because that's been undertaken, we're not required to place a site notice outside of the site, but we have conformed with the requirements within the legislation in terms of the public consultation.
Okay, can you offline give me the numbers of the properties that
I can probably do it here.
Yeah, can you? I just need to make clarity. Councillor Davis.
So just to go back to the site entrances, are we saying that the greenery part at the bottom of the site is the second access?
No, sorry, it's my fault. That's not. That belongs to those gentlemen down there.
Right. So there's only one access.
There's only one access.
There's only one access to this site. Okay. In that case, Chairman, I'd be minded to say that we remove the rights to work on a Saturday, being so close to properties. I think they deserve a little let up. It's such a small road, them houses either side. We've got 8 till 1 on a Saturday. It's not massive amounts of hours, and it may benefit, if we were minded to move forward, it may benefit the residents to have a weekend of peace.
Appreciate that, but I don't think we are in that area where we can ask for that. We have a standard condition of working hours, and as it is, they don't work on it, and they only work half a day on a Saturday. I can understand where you're going with it, and I agree with you to a certain extent, but we have a condition that goes across all of our whole of Hillingdon. We can't sort of like pick and choose which ones you do.
So is there anything that we can do? Because I understand we have a one glove fits all sort of thing, but this is a different site, so I'd be interested to know if there was anything.
I mean, it's up to you how you potentially word the condition, but, you know, as Chairman has said, I feel like it would be overly onerous to restrict all work on Saturday. What, you know, we've got in the standard working hours is sort of standard, you know, across the country. Planning inspectors generally permit work on Saturdays from all the decisions that I've seen. So I just feel it would be overly onerous and in that sense wouldn't meet the test for conditions.
What if we were to add no deliveries on the weekend?
Yeah, I think we can do that. Don't know. They wouldn't be delivering half a day anyway, but yeah, I mean, yeah, we can put that on. It's not a problem.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yep.
Councillor Ballard.
I really appreciate, and I agree what Councillor Davis said, because it's a very, very narrow road, and over the weekend it's just 6 days a week basically. If we could do something, I don't want to pressurize officers, but if there's any provision that we can give sort of relief to the residents.
I think the only thing we can do is, as you said, no deliveries on a Saturday. And then residents can always monitor it if they are going over those times, and they will keep us informed. Councillor Davis.
Thank you. Sorry, Chairman. Can I just confirm that there was only the 4 objection. There was nothing from ward councillors. There's been no other representation. Okay.
Chris, can you tell us?
Yeah, so no other representations. Just to be clear and transparent on your question earlier regarding consultation, there were 10 neighbouring properties consulted. Those included and extended beyond the properties which are directly adjacent to the site.
Yeah. Do we have numbers?
I'm not sure whether that.
But we have not.
Yeah. We
have confirmed knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, we've got confirmed knowledge. Yeah.
Okay. If we got that, then.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Wanana.
Just to clarify that I am a councillor for Colum and Cowley. I am not a regular member of the planning committee. But, the questions I asked basically those were the objections that I raised in form of questions.
Okay.
Yeah, so I am councillor for Colum and Cowley. So I just
yes, and you're not allowed to comment on.
Well, I'm not a regular member of the planning committee.
Exactly. So you've got your other hat on tonight. You're a planning. Okay. So we've been proposed and seconded. Councillor Davis, you got another question? Or are you happy to second it? You okay? Oh, you want to? Okay. So show of hands. All those in favour? Oh, sorry. Go on, Councillor.
So just with so a show of hands, but with all of what we've spoken around.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. So we're going to have a condition that no deliveries on a Saturday. Lighting, which has been access, and we've also you'll have a development management building plan anyway, so we'll get that come back. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we've got all of those things, and we've all said them, so I'll make sure it's done. And so, can I have a show of hands? All those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you very much. That's been passed. Next item is 560 Simpson Road, West Drayton. Whenever you're Alan, go.
Good evening. The application site is 560 Simpson Road in West Drayton. The applicant proposes redeveloping the site to accommodate a 7-storey over-basement hotel containing 108 hotel rooms. The council received just one objection to this from the Heathrow Village's Conservation Area Advisory Panel. They raised concerns regarding the lack of proposed soft landscaping. I've worked with the applicant to reduce the on-site hard standing to the front of the building and secured additional ground level planting as well as a green roof, and also the applicant has agreed to a legal agreement which would deliver additional street trees. There has been no objection from any internal or external consultees, subject to the recommended planning conditions and legal agreement heads of terms, and the officer's recommendation is to grant subject to conditions and Section 106 legal agreement. Here's the application site. The site is approximately 400 metres north of Heathrow Airport, and there are no residential homes within 100 metres of the site. It previously contained a two-storey building, but that was demolished following the council's approval to do so in 2016. It's been a vacant brownfield site for several years. Here's the aerial image of the site, the brownfield site. It's within potentially contaminated land, an air quality management area, an air quality focus area, an archaeological priority zone, and a critical drainage area. These aerial images give a better context of the site, which is neighboured by an expansive hotel complex with neighbouring hotel buildings ranging in height from 4 to 6 stories with large associated car parking. Here are the site photos taken from Simpson Road, showing the boarded up application site with the neighbouring hotel buildings adjacent. This is an important slide here. In 2018, the council approved an almost identical hotel proposal on the site. On the left-hand side is the front elevation of the previously approved 7-storey 108-key hotel, and on the right-hand side is the front elevation of the proposed 7-storey 108-key hotel. The primary difference between the previously approved hotel and the proposed hotel is that I've secured the reduction of ground level hard standing and an increase in on-site and off-site soft landscaping and tree planting. Here's the ground floor site plan with greening to illustrate it to the front of the site. Here's the basement showing the car parking, which 19 basement car parking spaces. The next 4 slides then are just covering the floor areas if we want to refer back to them later on. And then this is the proposed green roof which the applicant added during the planning assessment stage. The proposed front elevation, again, larger for you there. It will be similar in all aspects of design and appearance compared to the previously approved hotel. The building's elevation would include vertical protruding fins to appropriately articulate the facade and provide visual relief to its elevation. The 7-storey height would reflect the local context and surrounding hotel developments. There we go. The scale would be similar, or would be smaller than the neighbouring hotel complex, and would respect the area's prevailing scale of development. That's just a section if required. This is the final slide with a 3D visual of the proposed hotel. The primary consideration is the principle of the hotel use. While the council approved an almost identical hotel in 2018, there have since been policy changes. The Hillingdon Local Plan Part 2 was adopted in 2020, and it identifies locations for hotel developments which are namely in town centres and designated hotel growth areas. This site is not within a designated hotel growth area or a town centre. For the principle of the development to be acceptable, the applicant was required to justify the hotel use on the site using a sequential approach. The submitted sequential assessment provided acceptable evidence regarding the limited availability of suitable alternative sites to accommodate this hotel in relevant town centres. The Council's planning policy team has reviewed that sequential assessment, and they have not raised any objections to the proposal. When considered against the strategic needs for visitor accommodation as per the London Plan and its associated evidence base, The need for serviced visitor accommodation cannot be met on town centre and edge of centre sites alone. A refusal of the application on this basis is therefore not justified or recommended. To conclude then, the principle of redeveloping the site as a hotel is accepted. The building's design is appropriate within the context of the site's planning history and neighbouring hotel developments. It would not harm residential amenity, and the applicant has addressed one public objection by adding additional soft landscaping. Finally then, there are no objections to repeat from the internal or external consultees, and the application is recommended for approval subject to conditions and legal agreement. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. That's lovely. Councillor Davies and Councillor Bennett. Councillor Villana.
Thank you, Chairman. Officers would be aware of the local stories hitting the news, etc. at the moment. Is there a condition that we can put in to prevent this hotel becoming a hostel or people staying over 90 days?
Yeah, shall I'll start. So we do have a condition proposed which effectively secures the 90-day concern. I'll just try and find which one it is. Okay, here we go. So condition number 28. So we did give this some quite careful thought to the wording. So the wording proposed is the development hereby approved shall not be occupied by any visiting persons for a period longer than 90 days in a 365-day period. Prior to first occupation of the development, a management plan shall be submitted to and approved in writing by the local planning authority. The plan shall demonstrate 1. A system for keeping a register of all visiting people who stay in the development, their length of stay and previous length of stays within a 365-day period, and 2. A means by which the local planning authority can check the register to ensure that the maximum permitted stays are being enforced. And then finally, the hotel shall be operated in accordance with the approved management plan in perpetuity. So I'm satisfied that that condition is appropriate. In terms of, potential other uses, to change use, from a hotel would require planning permission anyway. So I don't consider, anything further as required.
That's fine, I missed that condition, so thank you.
Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I mean, with the kind of rising civil unrest, I think residents would want us to ask that question, and I think it's really good that planning officers are ahead of the game there and that we're doing everything we can to mitigate any long-term occupancy. I think given that and also the fact that an application of this nature has been approved beforehand, I'd be happy to propose we move officer's recommendation for approval.
Thank you, Councillor Bennett. We're always on top of the game. This department's brilliant. Councillor Villana.
I'm happy to second that one.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Singh.
Thank you, Chair. Actually, the first and second they done. I think this is good development. Also, officer, they have cleared the issues. So I oppose the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. Can I show of hands those in favour? Abstaining, are we? Against? Oh, we have an against. Okay, one against. So not a full house today. So no bingo for me. Okay, so we go to the last item, which is Unit 5, number 12, Powerhouse Lane. Chris?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I'll finish the evening. The application is brought before members to be determined this evening as the council has an interest in the application and also the site itself. Item 13 relates to Unit 5, 12 Powerhouse Lane. The description is as shown on screen. The temporary change of use for 5 years from a cafe, which is planning use class E, to a local community use, which is planning use class F2. The site is a vacant unit. The unit's been vacant since approximately 2019. It is a former cafe, which unfortunately we haven't been able to secure long-term occupancy for. It forms part of a master plan area for the former old vinyl factory development, which comprises of a mix of residential and commercial uses. Here we have the site and the area of the building in red, you'll see that it is street facing, so it has a frontage out onto the street. Here is the proposed block plan, existing ground floor plan, proposed ground floor plan. You'll notice that there is very limited internal works to be undertaken. Here is the existing southeast elevation, proposed southeast elevation, existing east elevation, proposed east elevation. You'll note from those elevations there is very limited external works proposed as well. Here is a view of the existing unit from the outside. South elevation and the door to be replaced, that is the limitation of the external works to be undertaken. Internal images of the vacant unit, so you'll notice that it has been stripped out, so there will be some internal works required, just in terms to bring it up to a reasonable specification. In terms of the principle of development, so the change in use class is considered to be acceptable. It's an edge of town centre location. Whilst it would have been preferable to retain the E-class within that unit, as it's set away from the high street, it is likely to be less desirable than those vacant units within the high street. It's undoubted that the proposed use as F2B, which in planning terms states a hall or meeting place for the principal use of the local community, would bear some benefit to the local community. At this stage there isn't an end occupier which has been identified, but the council will be obtaining a lease for the property for at least 5 years. We are aware as a planning team that there has already been some engagement with local groups to find an end user, and there is a substantial amount of interest. As such, the vacancy of the unit will be advertised and then an appropriate user identified. As explained, there's no notable changes to the exterior. The internal floor space will need to be uplifted, but there's no notable subdivision or anything like that proposed. In terms of other material considerations, the site currently doesn't benefit from parking. It's envisaged the proposed use would serve the community, therefore walking and cycling are likely to be the two transport modes of choice. The proposal presents no additional harm in terms of noise generation upon local residents of the upper floor of the building itself upon that which would have been derived from the existing use. It's an appropriate use for this location. There's no impact upon the character and appearance of the area, local residents, or the local highway network. As such, given the benefits that the scheme proposes, it's recommended for approval. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chris. Nice and short and sweet. Councillor Bennett and Councillor Sensipori, Councillor
Yes, thank you. Thank
Davis
you, Chair.
and Councillor Nile.
I just wanted to say, I think community spaces are always much needed. I was chatting to some colleagues the other day, and I know that the Hayes Independent Party group councillors have been putting a lot of time and effort in over a number of years to get more community space in the Hayes area, and I think this is really good. Hopefully they'll shut the toilet seat and do a good job refurbishing the inside. But on that basis, I would be happy to move officer's recommendation for approval.
Thank you, Councillor Bennett. Councillor Sensipori.
Yeah.
Councillor Sensipori.
Thank you, Chairman. Because as Councillor Bennett already said, because this proposal is going to be for community use, and that is my ward, so I will support this proposal.
A proposal second, Councillor Davis and then Councillor Alana.
I just need to ask.
Alana, then Councillor Davis.
Ask a question. It's a good initiative. That's fine, but what sort of community use is this for, and then how we will operate?
Yeah, go on, Chris. I'll let you answer.
We talked about this before we came into the presentation, and I tried to slip in a little bit of information which we've been given. Obviously, that is limited because that would rest with the applicant solely. But we are aware that the council is the applicant. They will be obtaining a lease on the property. They've already done some work to look at who the end user may be, and there's been significant amount of interest So, as I explained, it would be advertised, and then the council, as the applicant, would be the person to choose the appropriate user.
Okay, Councillor Norman, do you want to come back?
Yeah, it's quite a diverse community down there. My fear is there should not be a sort of a monopoly of one group to use it, or should be given to one organisation to have a control over it.
Okay, just one.
Yeah, so hopefully this isn't me speaking out of turn, but the information that we were passed today when speaking to the applicant team was that the initial sublease or the letting of the unit to a community group would last for 2 years. So we've got a 5-year temporary use on it. So in such time, if we felt that a different user would be more appropriate, then that could be done. Thank you.
So it's a rolling, so for 2 years someone will have it and someone else will have it. Yeah? Okay, so Councillor Davis.
Oh no, it's already been seconded, sorry.
Yes,
I will go with that. I just want to echo what my colleague said about the Hayes Independent Party and what great work they've done.
Okay, fine. That's okay, so can I show of hands those in favour of this officer's recommendation? That's unanimous. Well done, thank you very much. Thank you everybody for tonight, and good night to everybody, and thanks for watching if you're watching. If you're not, thank you anyway.